1982, the Residents premiered their first fully staged performance piece, The Mole Show. I was the narrator of that show. My name is Penn Jillette. On the surface, The Mole Show is a simple story of unresolved conflict. The moles, a gentle race of hideous but benevolent workers, are driven from their underground homes by a flood. They migrate to another land and are initially perceived as cheap labor by their new neighbors. But soon the shallow and superficially more attractive chubs see themselves becoming outnumbered by the peaceful moles. Slowly, their mercenary greed turns to fear, and the inevitable conflict begins. Well, now that's all well and good, but it doesn't say much about what was really going on. Oh yeah, the residents may have seen themselves as the ugly, sweet moles crawling out of their own self-imposed underground. And yeah, they may have seen the culture that existed outside their introverted little world as the pleasantly malignant chubs. And the unresolved conflict may have simply been a reflection of the fear they felt painfully crawling out into an uncaring glare of public scrutiny. But that doesn't begin to tell the real story. The one I know. The one I lived for 6 weeks and 4,000 hell-filled minivan miles touring Europe and nearly dying in some god-forsaken Spanish hospital, all the while pretending to be a bozo who hated the residents. That's right. While they smugly cowered behind their screen, I stood out in front and deliberately antagonized the audience. That's right, the exact same audience who had paid for the privilege of seeing their faceless heroes soon found themselves in the position of having no one to relate to but me. And I was not only arrogant, condescending, and highly sarcastic, I was also becoming emotionally unraveled and maybe even dangerous. Eventually, I appeared to stop the show and had to be pulled off the stage, but gagged and handcuffed to a wheelchair, I was soon brought back, and as I stared at the audience, anyone who had somehow clung to the frayed threads of continuity in this cornucopia of chaos must have looked back at me and seen their true psychic reflection. A castrated clown in the seat of a cynic. And why? Why? Why, you ask, would the residents have created such an interesting, but ultimately unfulfilling, vehicle for their first public unveiling? Well, I could say it may have something to do with personal crisis, or I could say it might have reflected turmoil and dissatisfaction within the group, but the residents never told me that. All I can do is repeat a riddle one of them told me a long time ago. He said, "Penn, why did the little moron resurrect Christ?" Puzzled, I could only stare at him until he finally answered, "To get to the other side, of course." Well, the ambulance is here. Enjoy the rest of the time.